Hi, I'm Jim Knotts, President and CEO of the Vietnam Veterans Memorial Fund. Welcome to today's virtual reading of the names. 2022 marks the 40th anniversary of the dedication of the Vietnam Veterans Memorial in Washington, D.C. As part of our commemoration, we'll host an in-person reading of the names at the wall from November 7th through 10th, 2022, when all 58,281 names on the wall will be read aloud. In the lead up to that event, we'll be reading names each day online while sharing the photos of these heroes. For our daily virtual reading, the names of the service members will be read by month and day of death between the years 1956 and 1975 in alphabetical order for the given day. We apologize in advance for any mispronunciations. Know that our readers are doing their best to honor these service members. We hope you'll listen and watch each day and share with others as we remember and honor those who gave their lives during the Vietnam War.
John Herrick Aldrich, Ernest Alston, Jr., Jose Francisco Arroyo, Theodore Ellis Baltzor, Ross Owen Barlow, David Thomas Bell, Reiner Walter Borowski, Donald Lamar Blackston, Harold Edward Bocher, William Robert Bonner, Mark Curtis Brantley, Tommy Joe Bream, Louis Carl Brewer IV, Wheeler David Brooks, Benjamin M. Brothers III, Terry Hugh Bromley, Curtis Herman Bullard, Leslie Allen Chamberlain, Lonnie Edward Clements, Robert F. Colatruglio, Robert Morris Cook, Leland Richard Cotton, Ben Coy, Charles Ligon Cronkite, Thomas Lee Cusson, John DeMay, Daniel Joseph DeSocio, Floyd Cornelius Denson, David George DeBose, Fred Thomas Earls, Martin Philip Eastham, Thomas Ray Edwards, Ernest Lee Elliott, James Lee Emmert, Leslie Eugene Engelhart, Wayne Lee Evatt, James Edward Fields, Dennis Ray Forney, Earl Warren Frederickson, Gabriel Gallegos, Harold Francis Gentile, Jerry Guy Giberson, Michael Gigliotti, Joseph James Goetzer Jr., Jeremiah Green, Richard Joseph Green, Thomas Dwayne Griffin, Robert Rocha Guerra, Daniel Harold Hackett, Stephen Wayne Hadley, Wayne Edwin Halstead, Craig Hayes Hansen, Bufford Clifton Harrison, Thomas Edward Harrison, Harvey Joe Hassler, William David Hedrick, Brian Charles Heath, Larry Franklin Heron, Richard Hinton, Merrill Holt, Frederick Wayne Hobson, Howard P. Howland, Jr., David George Hutchings, LaRon Jackson, Jr.,
Frank Paul Jenkins, Jr., Jim Frank Jennings, Glenn Robert Jennings, Robert Charles Johnson, Gerald Lee Johnson, Ronnie Lee Jones, Richard Dennis Joy, Wayne Douglas Karn, Larry Russell Kennan, Joseph Ronald Klug, Michael Benjamin Kopetsky, William Roy LaPlante III, Leon Laverne Laniger, Lauren Henry Larson, Thomas Daniel Latanowitz, George Blue Lee, John Eugene Leas, William Lewis Long, Larry Joseph Lothar, Joseph Patrick Lutz, Robert Carey Mahan, Elbert Mercantile, Robert Ernest Mason, Larry Glenn Massey, Marvin Raymond McCain, Jr., John Richard McDonough, Robert Louis McGee, Jr., James R. McIlwee, Ronald Albert McCod, Marlon McClellan Miller, Harold Norman Minio, Luis Alberto Montoya, Patrick Thomas Mooney, Alton Bernard Munn, Donald Joseph Murphy, Tony Francis Micah, Jr., Edwin Gilbert Northrup, Keith Olson, Gary Eldon Utout, James Michael Pankowitz, James Edward Parker, Glenn Allen Parks, Terry Lee Parsons, Chester Donald Paul, Dale Russell Pavey, Earl Timothy Pelham, Jr., Frederick Allen Phobus, Robert Lee Porter, Gary Thurston Porter, Roger Lee Porter, Carl Hamby Presnall, Ross McClellan Preston, Forrest Lee Ramos, Michael Gustav Rinden, Richard Franklin Roach, Edwin Charles Rollins, Gregory Mark Ross, Melvin Neil Rutherford, Jose Luis Salazar, Gary Laverne Sangster, Billy Ray Sargent, Donald Frank Schmidt, John William Schweier, Jr., Charles Sagar, Jr.,
Joseph Wayne Sell, Jr., Bobby Centers, Lawrence Allen Schaefer, Dallas C. Shelton, Jr., Stephen Edward Shields, Timothy Allen Schober, Mark Anthony Savada, Donald Ray Smith, Edwin Harold Sorensen, Johnny Soto, Alex C. Spence, Jr., Sidney Chester Squires, Robert Earl Stauffer, Floyd Lester Stewart, James Leo Stiles, David Lynn Stockman, Dennis M. Stoppelworth, Burdette D. Townsend, Jr., John Wallace Tunnell, Ronald Eugene Underwood, Eddie Vasquez, Joe Alton Wadley, Richard Kenneth Wells, Thomas Martin Werner, Richard Edward Whiting, George Anthony Williams, Thomas Ralph Williams, Donald D. Williams, Jr., Millard Leroy Williamson, Frank Rodriguez Ibarra, David Allen Yonk.